Will it access a text-to-speech service and then connect to Trello and dial the number at the restaurant and call on your behalf and edit your voice and make the reservation? Guardrails. Guardrails. The context, the guardrails. It's never been more important. And this is a very long way of saying, and I'm so happy I have this channel to talk about this because it's so important. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Power Platform Boost podcast, your timely source of Power Platform news and updates with your hosts, Nick Dolman and Ulrikke Ackerbeck. Hey, Nick.
Hey, Ulrikke. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you doing?
Good. I'm good, thanks. So here we are back into the regular stream of things after traveling. Of course, Arctic Cloud Developer Challenge, we did the recap on that. That was a lot of fun. And yeah, kind of back into the regular grind of news and updates across the Power Platform and Microsoft and everything else going on. And yeah, and as always, a ton of new things and stuff for us to talk about.
Yeah, 100%. And I haven't been this ready to kind of slow down and fiddle with stuff in the apartment and just have days where I just make dinner and then there's an evening and then you go to bed and you wake up the next morning and do the same. Because the last month and a half has been absolutely crazy. So just a little bit of kumbaya and getting into this rhythm again as well, just from a normal perspective, back at the home office, everything's good. So ready to dive in. And we have, and we say this every time, it's like the list is so long. Just, okay, hold on to your socks, people, because this is going to be a wild ride. Let's start off at the top of the list. I think this is yours, if I'm not mistaken. I think we can both get behind this.
Yeah, so the big news that came out this week was code apps are now generally available, or code power apps are generally available. So exciting news. So first off, I mean, I think for those of you who maybe don't know what this means for code apps, I think the best way to explain it is you build a pro code app of sorts. You can build this in Visual Studio Code. You can get AI to help you, or you could write it from scratch, depending on what you want to do. And then you upload this app, and it uses it can use React or Angular or Vue, but typically if you're kind of vibe coding, it's going to be React. If you use vibe.powerapps, I think it uses React as a framework. You upload this into Power Apps, and then your users will interact with this Power App the same as they would a Canvas app or a model-driven app. But the fact that it's written using React components, that framework or whatever framework you want, and it using the connectors, the Power Platform connectors, you can basically make an app look and feel however you want it to look. So you're not limited by the model-driven apps menu inside and forms or the Canvas apps. Even though Canvas apps is pretty flexible, you can still make it look and feel however you want. And so, but some people might say, well, this is a whole new pro code approach. What about the makers? Well, of course, with using these tools, the vibe coding tools, and whether you're using GitHub Copilot or I'm starting to use Claude or maybe some other tools, you can begin to use the new, I would say not new, using natural language as low code to build your Power Apps, which is pretty exciting. And I think this is just going to blow the doors off. It's going to change a lot of things. First off, it's going to give a lot of times when your customers are coming to you and they want very specific, unique things or terms of user interface, these can be addressed. Other things that it's going to do is I think it's going to sort of Canvas apps are going to be kind of on their way out. And I know that's a little bit controversial, but I think overall we're going to see less and less Canvas apps. I still think model-driven apps are going to be there for the long haul. just because of their framework, their ease of use, the fact that if you've learned how to do navigate one model-driven app, you kind of can navigate all model-driven apps. And the fact that you have generative pages built into model-driven apps as well kind of gives you those specialized user interfaces. So all in all, pretty exciting news. The fact that it's generally available means you can upload a support ticket if something goes wrong, and Microsoft is obligated to help you out. But yeah, it's exciting stuff. To be honest, I haven't really built one of these. I've been most focused on the Power Pages side of things. I have been playing with Vibe.PowerApps, which is still preview, but it also generates code apps, but gives you a nice front end to it. So yeah, what's your thoughts on this?
No, I'm not a developer first kind of person. So for me, it's a bit codey. But if I get to item number 52 on my list of things I want to play with, that's definitely there. But I also saw that Charles Sexton, he played with it because he has a blog post this week where he says, in today's video, I'm going to go through how you can add your database table to your code app and integrate them with your app using AI agent. And then it all goes wrong. And then he went on to say all the things that went wrong. When he was recording the video, everything went wrong. But then on the fly, using AI tools and kind of his skills and experience, he solves it and he overcomes those challenges. And we've highlighted content like this. This is our favorite type of content. If you and me had a content type that we like, it's this. It's the true thing where I'm going to go off. I'm going to save the world. Watch me crush the roof. And then shit, beep, it all fails, but also showing how you mitigate, how you correct, how you troubleshoot, how you get to the thing. Because it's never going to go as a happy path. And you read these perfect world, la la lamb blog posts where everything goes right. Yeah, sure, dude. It doesn't. It never does. So real stuff like this, I absolutely love. So kudos to Charles for daring to and be brave enough to kind of show everything that goes wrong. Sometimes he thinks it's us. More often than not, it's not us. And so, yeah, be brave and put it out there. And I absolutely loved seeing that. So, yeah. Very good.
Yeah. No, I'm guilty of that where I'll do a video together and things just go completely sideways. So I'll backtrack and re-record and whatever. And like more and more I realize, okay, I just need to just let the camera roll on something like this, because we all go through this, right? Where, I'll be swearing at the computer, like, why is this working? And then of course, then you realize sometimes it's like, oh, this is, I made a stupid mistake here, because I used to have a thing sticky on my monitor, and it said there is always a logical explanation for something. And because sometimes things go so weird, like, okay, Microsoft did an update or somebody did something. This happened last Friday, this little down a little bit of rabbit hole, but I'm working on a project. And it's actually a Power Pages project. I'm doing some Liquid. I'm changing, pulling data. And then all of a sudden I'm getting these Liquid errors. I'm like, so of course now I'm blaming Claude for screwing around with my code, because I'm checking that out. And then I'm going and I'm actually open up Fetch XML Toolbox to do a query. And then that's failing as well. I'm like, what's going on? Yeah. One of the other developers on the project I'm working on actually deleted a Dataverse table, or they refactored it. Didn't happen to tell me. So at least when I found that out, I'm like, okay, at least I know I'm not having a stroke or anything. But it was also kind of like, literally this was working 5 minutes ago. I changed one little thing in some file way off over there, and then all of a sudden things just not working. So, yeah.
Did you go back and apologize to Claude?
Yes, I did, of course.
I love it. We personalize AI so much. It's so much fun.
I know. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, it wasn't you. It was me. It was my colleague. Yeah. Expect was really kind of gentleman-y about it. It's going, yeah. No, you're good. And yeah, in true Nick style, this is kind of, this is...
Yeah. So anyways, good. I mean, Charles and Josh have been putting out great videos on their journey in building code apps. Yeah. I saw that they've gotten over 1,000 subscribers on their YouTube channel. So kudos guys for doing that. That's amazing. I mean, I know that takes a bit of work and consistency. So keep these videos coming, because this one that you mentioned, that was Charles by himself going through it. But a lot of times it's Charles and Josh kind of vibing off each other as they build through this stuff. And that makes watching YouTube videos very entertaining, very engaging as well. So keep it up, guys.
Yeah, because their latest videos you saw, we built a power up with one AI prompt, vibe coding with GitHub Copilot, was one of the videos that you put in here, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah, very
check
good
that
job,
out.
guys, and keep it going. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's what they do, right? Because they're real.
Yeah.
It seems to me, I don't know them that well, but it seems to me they're just hitting the record button and then they just hackle it out. And I love it. It's perfect. It's real, authentic, and it takes the time that it takes. Because more, like you said, you want it to. Often I'm scared that the error that I'm encountering is my own mistake. So I don't want to show the world through YouTube how stupid I am to forget that semicolon or my colleague deleting that table or whatever it is, right? So, but more often than not, these things are also design mistakes. So, and this is what I keep telling, if I'm mentoring or doing upskilling or adoption work, often you talk to or train people who aren't that technically skilled, and they will blame themselves when actually it's poor design patterns. It's badly designed interfaces, because if it had guided you to make the right choice or to remember to do something or to check something, then you wouldn't make that mistake, right? It's the same thing I've been going over and over about with, Power Pages Designer, that allows you and encourage you to choose between 30 different fonts on 10 different things. It's like, no. The design of the thing should guide you to follow best practices, not breaking them. In my view, that's bad design on Microsoft's part in the product. So it's not always your fault, even though you made the mistake, right? That's kind of what my long way of saying that.
Yeah, for sure. And then also, I think it reiterates again, you don't necessarily have to be a coder, but you should have some fundamental understandings of how the Power Platform works, how Dataverse works, how certain things work, because you can't rely on AI even making the best decisions. It's, again, sometimes working with a client. They don't know what to ask you. You don't know what to tell them. And I think that relationship can happen also with the AI interfaces we're working with. We might not know exactly what we want to do. And so for us to prompt that appropriately sometimes becomes a little bit difficult. So there has to be a little bit iteration back and forth. Again, working on a project, and you're going to be like kind of surprised by this, because it's partially I need to refactor things in Bootstrap 5 because it is a standard data model to enhanced data model. And I'm trying to fix a few components because some of the classes have changed. And then Claude came back to me going, "Oh, I see in a different part of your file you're using Bootstrap 3. So this is why your code's not working. It's all Bootstrap 5. So I went ahead and converted it all to Bootstrap 3. I'm like, no. Go the other way. What, this Bootstrap 5? And like,
What?
so I literally typed in, no, don't do that. Fix this. So, but yeah. Anyways, that all being said, maybe I should be recording some of my interactions with Claude just
we all got the same thing. I mean, I think that's the same one, right? Because we all get the same thing. Mine is so cheeky. I mean, sometimes I find myself laughing out loud in public of the things that ChatGPT says to me because it's so cheeky. And I mean, they tell you that it's kind of mimicking who you are and trying to give you what you need or what you want. And I'm like, it's nailing it. I'm just loving this interaction. It's so cheeky. Oh, it's so much fun. All right. So back to the list. We talked about Power Apps. And also I saw something, just wanted to mention it really shortly because you said, so Power Apps is kind of out the door, model-driven apps are good, Canvas apps maybe not so much. But then I saw someone called Ryan Johnston. He created a liquid glass effect for Power Apps, which was freaking fantastic. You can look at the LinkedIn post. It has a video of how it works and what it looks like. And of course, it's all vibe coded, right? Because you couldn't really possibly do that by hand. But it's really cool to show, even if so Canvas apps is a bit dated. We don't know what's going to happen with it, but you can with vibe coding, you can actually then create stuff still for Canvas apps that looks and feel pretty cool and pretty modern still. So it's kind of this mix between old and new world, I guess. So put a link to it in the show notes so you can see the cool effect.
Of course, all the liquid and the glass effect too, and of course, I know that you're an Android user, but for those of us iPhone users and Apple, of course, Apple rolled up their update like a month ago, and it's all this new glass imagery, liquidy type interface, which when I first looked at it, I'm like, ugh, I want to go back to the old one, but I got used to it pretty quick. But this sort of, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, this is just kind of reflecting on what Apple's doing. And I guess it's interesting about how UI kind of almost follows fashion trends, right? Like,
Yeah.
I guess the liquid, watery, glassy UI is sort of the new trend for 2026. I don't know. Give me buttons to press, give me a flow to go. So
No, but it's the same thing as any fashion trend, right? Or following the latest YouTube thing or the 6-7s or the brain rot thingies. It's about showing the world that you are up with the newest thing. And you know what we hear all the time is that, yeah, I would love our SharePoint site, but could it not look like SharePoint? Or I want to have a Power Pages site, but could you please not make it look like Power Pages? Or you open up an old legacy business application built in the 90s and people are going, actually, you know what? System is great. Can you just bring it into this modern day and age? Because it's awful to work with in terms of how clunky and old and horrible it is. It has to do with the pleasure of interacting with the user interface. And we're all human. And when we interact with something that is pleasurable to interact with, we'll do it more. So yeah, trend, but also it has to do with that experience. And that I'm so happy to see that actually translates into business applications because back in the day, you didn't really used to do that. So it's a good thing that we're actually able to do that now. And I think the threshold for that is much lower. And it has to do with kind of user satisfaction. That's always what we're aiming for, right? So yeah. And also we saw something else for, let me just go back up here, something for customer insights by Megan Walker, because creating dynamic cascading dropdowns with related entities. So she created a blog post to show, and it's a little bit back to the kind of old school way of hacking a Canvas app where you have dependencies between dropdowns, and you can actually use that to filter and to cascade the choices that you make in one will affect the results you get in another, right? I read that right?
Yeah, and it's basic. It's not necessarily for customer insights and journeys, just code or custom pages in general, or even just regular Canvas apps as well. I know I literally said 10 minutes ago Canvas apps was dying, but
and then we have 3 news items for them.
Canvas apps, yeah. I mean, there's still they're still going to be with us for a while, and these are the types of problems. What I liked about this post, it kind of brought me back to maybe it's a bit of nostalgia, but it's sort of like, yeah, these are the types of posts that you would do a search for, like, okay, I need to do a cascading drop-down list. And you would do a Google search and you would come up with a blog post like this. And this would be one of these ones that sort of save the day for you because someone has gone through the pain of figuring it all out, giving you the code, exactly how they did it, screenshots, the whole bit. I mean, Megan's amazing at putting all of this stuff together. And to me, it was just like, yeah, this is a great post. It's still very relevant because we are, of course, there's the agentic agents and copilots and everything that's kind of coming down that's beginning to infiltrate our day-to-day work. But I don't know about you, but my day-to-day work is still old school, building apps, getting stuff to figure out, getting user interfaces sorted out, addressing customers' requirements for exactly things like this. So it's a really good kind of breakdown. So if you're building something, you need that cascading drop-down list. Megan goes through, and she has Megan's a machine at putting out content. So check that out. Plus her other content. There's so many great little tips and tricks here. if you are kind of building things in custom pages within your model-driven apps. There's just a ton of content that's absolutely gold here. So thanks, Megan, for doing that. And yeah, just again, keep for the community at whole. Don't always look at the shiny new things. If there's something you're coming up, if you're solving a problem in your day to day, chances are hundreds of us are also needing to solve that problem. So keep that content coming. And like you said, like last week or 2 weeks ago, we need this fresh content to feed into the AI machines. So it's not all AI generated. It's human stuff going in, keeping it fresh, keeping it unique and very helpful.
Yeah, 100%. And I also love to see when people bring this into video format, the way that Elaiza and Claudio did on the Power Apps Reimagine Human and Agent Collaboration. Would you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so this was part of the low code revolution videos that the advocates team put out, and Elaiza and Claudio, two of my favorite people, not my they are favorite people from Microsoft. I don't want to start ranking people. If I start ranking people favorite of Microsoft, no, anyways. I worked with Claudio when I was at Microsoft. Of course, we all know Elaiza really well. I collaborated with her last year in Las Vegas on some sessions, and we've been buddies for years. And just to seeing the two of them talk about this stuff is pretty exciting. So basically, Claudio is program manager in a group where he's showing model-driven apps, the same that we've been working with, day in and day out for years, but showing the agent feed. So what is the agent doing? Integrating the agents into your model-driven app, having that side panel for the Microsoft 365 agent, using the Power Apps MCP server. So beginning to take, what I see happening here, and I mentioned this before, is this is how AI is going to begin to infiltrate the day-to-day projects we're doing. Is all of a sudden we're now having things like the form filler, the agent feed. We have these other agents coming through from Microsoft 365. We're able to go into our Microsoft 365 Copilot, like the paid one, the work one, and begin to influence stuff into Dataverse, which is amazing. So we're getting more and more a single user interface, but even within the model-driven app, be able to see what the agent is doing. So it's almost like the agents are other coworkers working with you as you go through things, and yet still keeping the human in the loop so we can review what the agent is doing. And if it's stuck on something, you can go through and unstick it to keep that whole flow of work going. And then also kind of doing things like translations, data collection, form filling, all of these things built within the context of apps that we've been working with for years. So this, I believe, is going to be at a public preview pretty soon that Claudio is showing. So I'm pretty excited to see that when that kind of rolls out and and I think this is going to be sometime the inflection point for a lot of people that have been not holding off on like agents and apps, but sort of going, I'm too busy in the weeds of my own projects right now that I'm kind of ignoring this. But now things are beginning to creep in, like the form filler, for example, the AI row summary. I did some training for a client a couple months ago, and they're like, no, we're not quite ready for AI yet. We still need to look at the basics. But I showed them the AI row summary, and they're like, we're turning that on right away because it provides immediate value. So this is the kind of side door way of how a lot of this new technology is going to help us out and move forward. So check out that video, see what Claudio is demoing. It's pretty exciting stuff. And then pretty soon it's going to be in everybody's hands in a public preview that they can begin to try the stuff out for themselves. And of course, I think already I have a couple of ways I can prove some existing clients usage of their Power Apps based on this new stuff. So this is pretty exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. And also I've seen some other news in terms of kind of transitioning a bit over to the Copilot Studio side of things. You can now also copy an agent that you started off building in AI Builder. Used to be AI Builder, used to be Copilot Studio Lite, and is now AI Builder again. Over to Copilot Studio. So if you started off, like you said, in one of the in AI Builder with your Microsoft 365 Copilot stuff, you can now copy that over and continue working on it and enhance and enterprise grade it through Copilot Studio. It also enhances kind of or brings back the citizen dev approach, I think. So if one of your colleagues or someone in your team made an agent that works well for them, this is a way to actually then lift that up and bring that into a more governed environment where anyone can use it and make sure you have all the security and guardrails in place and all the security stuff, but then actually enable other users to use it as well. So yeah, that's a really good new enhancement to see.
Awesome. Cool. Power Pages. What about bleh.
Yeah, Claudio used to work in no, it's in the Power Pages team, and there's a few announcements for Power Pages. There's a few things in here for Power Pages as well. So first of all, you have the new client API, which is in preview, native client-side library for forms and data. So this is kind of tying into the server-side help me out. Server-side logic? No.
Yes and no. The server-side logic is a separate thing than this, but I know what you're talking about.
No, but it ties into the story because now what we've had, so a couple of years back, and this is just because we're kind of in this space, they heavily invested in the designer. And then we had a few years of they heavily invested in the developer. You got Visual Studio Code in the browser, Visual Studio Code extension. And in the last few years, we've seen a lot of investments for the developer in Power Pages. And with all of the other new things coming, this ties into that very well, where you can free yourself from the traditional forms and lists and stuff using the new Pages syntax, but what is it called?
The Pages object.
Object, right. So because I'm not, developer first, this is a little bit alien to me. And this is one of the things that is very high on my list to start looking into. So what they kind of talk about in the release note is more about forms and control manipulation. You can set values, visibility, and disable state controls without accessing the IT attribute. You can you have native controls like go to next step or go to previous step if you have a multi-step kind of wizard multi-step form. It simplifies the web API connections in a way, it looks, because you have the pages.web API, which you can then wrap Dataverse calls in, so you have full CRUD for that. And then user and session management. So you can trigger the pages.user.sign-in or sign-in or sign-out and stuff like that. So this is really cool. And I like to see this investment and where it's going. And I can't wait to see what else they're going to tie into this. So super exciting.
Yeah.
So we're going to...
Yeah, it's good because a lot of times I know working on Power Pages projects, and I'm sure you've run into this too, where, well, we've set up business rules or we have JavaScript on our model-driven forms. How come that's not working on our Power Pages site for hiding and showing sections and that kind of thing? Well, then you have to actually go in and do JavaScript, which is DOM manipulation, which... I mean, it's kind of supported, but it's kind of hacky a little bit. So this way kind of makes it a much more supported, cleaner way to do that in terms of that form and list navigation, plus a few extra things like you were talking about, the model-driven, the multi-step form, which has always been a bit of a clunky thing, but also the simplified web API. To me, the web API was like one of the biggest things they brought to Power Pages a couple of years ago. Yeah. You still have to do quite a bit of code to get, the helper file and all this. This simplifies this a tremendous amount, making that a lot easier. And then also things like, session management, getting a user to log in and log out, little things like that. So this is just going to make Power Pages development, again, so much more, allow you to address those features that clients are always asking for, that if they're building on other web platforms are almost kind of inherent. So yeah, good. I mean, this is exciting stuff. I can't wait for this to be GA because already I want this for projects I'm working on now.
Yeah. But also it's a bit interesting to see that they choose to enable developers to do this, but we've been asking for this in the UI for ages and ages, right? Because as you mentioned, the hiding and showing of forms and conditional formatting on forms is always a request. And why can't we do that through the designer and the UI? And the answer is always, well, you can do it with JavaScript. It's documented. And like I said, it's a bit of a hack. And then people go, well, I thought it was a low code product. It's like, well, and then you get into the discussion, is JavaScript really code? I mean, it's just you copy and paste from the thing, but it really is. And it's interesting to see that they don't invest in it on the kind of the designer path first, because that was what I would expect them to do. So yeah, it's maybe showing a new path forward.
Yeah, and maybe I think maybe why you're seeing a bit of a pause on the. I mean, this is just speculating. I have no idea, but why you're seeing a bit of a pause on the designer side is because we are moving more into these. I don't want to say like the vibe coding is going to take over the designer thing. I still think there's a market or there's a need for having a good user interface to design layouts and all that kind of thing. But that could be why, to see how that will evolve and where that's going. And to the point where I think, because already I have a few ideas as well, if the APIs and the code is there, then is that going to empower people to vibe code their own designers how they want them to be? I know that's a bit far fetched, but if, considering how things are going, yeah, maybe I don't want to use the Power Pages designer, but maybe I could vibe code my own designer that I could use as myself as a maker or give to other makers that fits exactly how I work or what my flow is. That's just maybe a crazy idea on my part, but that could be why of maybe let's get the back end working. Let's get the APIs there. Let's get the libraries there. And then, get those interfaces come later. Just a thought.
Yeah. And we can only speculate where this is going. But I also see a bit of and it's sad because I'm a UX person and I love seeing crazy designs. And of course, being kind of brought up in the 90s, it's that web was fun back then. And now everything looks like lovable. I can spot a lovable design from miles and miles away, and it all looks the same. So of course, but the pixel perfect and the moving stuff around days are way behind us, and no one's going to care anymore, I think. So it's more about, design me this beautiful site that has these things and enables to do this and that. I see this as an enablement for development going forward, and kind of bridging the gap between what Power Pages used to be and what it can be in the future. So I see these nudges in the right direction. And I love to see that direction. And there is no other direction to go in. And I can't wait to see where this is going to bring us, because I think Power Pages as a product has a lot of it has a big potential. And there's a need in the platform, because you can't really have end customers outside of your organization interact with your Dataverse data any other way. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to see where they're going with this.
And even, and I know we touched on this before, and I do want to kind of bring this up in terms of use cases of internal users being able to use Power Pages as a conduit into Dataverse. We had a comment on our LinkedIn, our LinkedIn section about, someone who had a use case where they wanted to use Dataverse, they needed it, but of course the users would only log into the app maybe once a quarter, if that. So they couldn't justify getting Power Apps licenses. And I thought, well, this could be a case of using a Power Pages, because in terms of the licensing cost, depending on your volume, for internal users could be a lot lower. And we talked about this, I think, last fall with Franco and Sean, talking about Power Pages as an alternative for internal applications. So again, it depends on your situation. But this is also, just remember, folks, if you run into we have to use SharePoint lists because it's a cheaper option. No, you can use Dataverse depending on what you need to do. Power Pages could be a viable alternative, especially now with some of these, even like single page applications in Power Pages, could be a viable alternative to Power Apps for those very low usage, or those, I just need to fill out an HR form once a quarter or half a year, or doing even an expense report every so often kind of thing. These scenarios, Power Pages could work very well for. So anyways, that's just, we're down another little rabbit hole, but here we go. This is what we do.
Here we go. Yeah. No, and it's so true. And now also, I mean, with AI and copilots and chats and everything, it's becoming even more complicated to make good decisions in terms of what kind of AI capability you want to use within these different apps, right? So you can have, AI chats in model-driven apps or in Canvas apps or in Power Pages and all over the place. And of course, if you use those tokens, then and you authenticate through them, then it's going to also add a licensing cost. So it's all kind of in the mix. So then there's suddenly there's this new layer of licensing you have to apply to everything, because it does apply to everything. And so, yeah, it becomes even more complex. But
Yeah.
I'm not a licensing expert, so I'll just leave it at that.
Nobody is, except for Yuka. But anyways.
Yeah. Of course, except for you. Right. So another thing with related to Power Pages that I saw this week was a blog post from the PowerCat team, or the CAT team as it's called now, on how to embed a web chat without writing a single line of JavaScript, which is really cool. So you have the ability now to use bot framework web chat, and you can add that into your website without using anything other than HTML. And I love seeing this this is a very easy implementation. There's a code here, and you just kind of replace this URL with your URL and your token endpoint, and then you have the kind of the chat up and running. And also you can customize it a little bit using CSS, and of course you can add JavaScript to fiddle with it as well if you want to, but that's kind of optional. You can change the appearance a little bit, and then you can actually have that on your site. And this is applicable to Power Pages. Now, caveat here is it's not authenticated. So if you wanted to use this, it's for anonymous use only. And if you wanted to embed an agent on a Power Pages site, when you want it authenticated, either you can go the custom route, the way that they've done here, but then you have to build your own authentication for that, or you can use Power Pages Copilot agent that comes with the product, because that is already set up. So you can just configure configuration in the agent or the chat, and then off you go.
Yeah, and I think
this is really cool.
Yeah, no, this is amazing. Like I saw this and I'm like right away, like, okay, I need to send this to a couple clients that are kind of struggling with this. But then, yeah, the authentication, even on the Power Pages side, I know that's not as straight and clear as it's supposed to be either. But that's, I think, a discussion for another day before we go down to. So.
Yeah, but also it's good to know that you have the ability to do that. So, for instance, scenarios like applying for courses or for universities to allow their students to browse through and find courses to take or things to sign up for, or after school programs where you have a variety of things. You can just give it a prompt to say, what do you like to do and how it works? And it can give you suggestions, things like that, things that doesn't require you to log in, not sensitive information, but where users usually have to filter through a lot of dense information. Then this is a very good use case for something like that. So definitely has its use cases and where it's applicable.
Yeah. Cool.
Right. Okay. So there's a few more things I wanted to go through, and I'm trying to kind of categorize them a little bit as we go along. So now we're kind of venturing into kind of Dataverse governance type of things, where I saw this article of how you can now check your Power Platform solutions for secrets with Pester and PowerShell. Do you know Pester?
I don't. This is a new thing for me too.
Yeah. So to use Pester, you can create a test file in your repository, and then they have a JSON or kind of a structure like that. And then you can have an unmanaged version of the structure, and then you can give it some parameters and then things to look for, and then it's gonna run through and look for vulnerabilities in your solution. So for kind of getting out secrets, and I know, you hear horror stories about developers that kind of put secrets in code and configure files, and then suddenly it's on the great wide web, and with all the vibe coding and stuff, learning on stuff, and so it's a good thing to maybe have this in your one of your texts. Now you can write PowerShell to do it, so it becomes a little bit simpler. And also I found this article on, because I know you've heard this before, right? We talked about this before in the podcast. Now that we have vibe coding, and why would you bother with Power Platform when you can just vibe code a business application and apply, presented Azure, and then off you go. What is this the selling point
What's the
for
value
Power
add? Yeah.
Platform then? And the value add for Power Platform is the same in the world of vibe coding as it has always been. And it is about creating a secure environment for developers to work in. So low code doesn't necessarily mean low security is kind of the first top headline of this article. And it is very true because out of the box, you have this safe space. And when I talk to customers about Power Platform, that's always the first and front and center things we talk about is you have safety by default. And especially now in AI days, that is very important and top of mind for a lot of customers. And also the governance and how you have so much insight into what's going on just out of the box. And PPAC has become fantastic, phenomenal. Add application insights on top of that for performance. And then, have all your governance and COE and stuff in place. I mean, it's so good what you can do. And also it's scalable. So, I mean, it's a good article. I think it's a convince your customer type article for us who have a lot of customer interactions. If you need more of a convince your customer type of thing. So for those of us who are interacting a lot with customers and have these conversations often, both with colleagues and with other architects and with customers, it's a good thing. And it was a good reminder of why we use this platform to begin with, because it's absolutely true that it has to do with the secure environment.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you'll get I could just vibe code this using what you said before, Lovable or Replit or all of these other ones. And yeah, sure. But where's your security? How are you going to lock it down? And there's so much reporting and things like this. And this is a great article by Joe and Justin. It again, bookmark this when you're talking to customers about Power Platform and why. And the whys, this is a big why, is security, because the last thing you want is your data and stuff to be out there in the wild on some vibe coded app with with secrets and things like that in your GitHub, your public GitHub repository, and all of these things. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's interesting. You talk about security and things like that. I didn't get a chance to see this, but I know Chris and Victor Victor has his Agents Academy or his Agents AI thing running now. So you want to talk about a little bit that session, because again, Chris Huntingford is always the one screaming at us, learn purview, responsible AI and everything like this.
Yeah, this is another one to bookmark for sure. And I just love the interactions between, Chris and the audience, because it's obvious that he's kind of planned out a few of these little things where he asks the audience. And it's rare to see kind of a webinar setting like this where you actually get to interact with people. And Chris does this in such a good way. And he is very entertaining, just being Chris, but also he's very engaging and the content is really good. So definitely, if you are looking into the Frontier framework, this is one to watch. And not just because you get to see what this is all about, but he takes you through the maturity journey from the very beginning. What is an agent? What is context and why is it so important? He goes through all the mechanisms of the prompts and the skills and it's so dense and it's so light at the same time. So Chris, very well done. This is amazing. And I encourage anyone to watch this and to go back and see that because it's very good.
Cool.
And then next off, I also wanted to mention a little quick thing about governance, because now you can, and this is actually something that I discovered prepping for my session at Tallinn, because I did a session on Power Platform pipelines done right, because as our listeners know very well, we have been battling with pipelines in a customer project for some time. And I thought I would share kind of the battle stories and also what we figured out how to do it and how to set it up right. So it is the happy path and the La La Land version of pipelines. And in doing the research, I discovered that they now released something new, which we needed when we were in that customer project. Because when you use pipelines, an environment can only be either a source or a destination. Meaning if you have dev and you want to push manage it's unmanaged in dev, you want to push it managed to test and then to production, etc., you can't really move anything into dev. So if you have your dev, which you should have, and lots of them, to play around, sandbox, just experimenting with things, you can't really just take a solution from there and import it into dev unmanaged. But now you can. You can import unmanaged solutions in through pipelines, which is new capability that is actually very handy. And so there's a few, there was a LinkedIn post and someone kind of commented, well, what unmanaged changes? Why would you, what's the use case for the unmanaged and managed police came out. And it was a very fun conversation to watch because from the face of it, I understand that people that kind of work with, small size business application don't have a lot of customization. So we think, ooh, we kind of stepped back from the unmanaged stuff a while ago. What's this? But it's actually enabling good ALM structure and development patterns that match what the real world is like and development patterns outside of the platform as well. So I love to see that, which is really cool.
Yeah. And I think just in terms of even repopulating or hydrating developer environments. So idea if you could begin to work towards segmenting out like, okay, I need to work on a specific branch of this, or we need to fix a particular bug, but we're still doing development on another branch or another environment, those types of things. So this makes it so much easier. So you're not exporting and importing that unmanaged solution into another dev environment to fix something up or something like that. So again, still a bit of planning involved in this, but that's how I see this being very helpful, that you're not back to the file, import, export, all that kind of fun stuff. You can actually use the tools there.
Yeah, let's try to get away from that. Absolutely. And then also saw something that piqued my interest. An article by, I have practiced, Nitasha Chopra. I hope that's right. The six pillars that will define agent readiness in 2026, which is, so I have a colleague who works in Azure, and he is teaching me a lot of the new things that come out with kind of thought leadership around AI. And this is matching a lot of what he's saying. So these are kind of 6 pillars that will help you define how to work towards agent readiness. So they mentioned kind of ability for anyone to turn intent into agents. So it's natural language, like you said earlier, right? The making of the agent is not a developer task. It is a natural language type of task, a vibe coded type of task, if you want. And agents that can own workflows end to end. And also we see less human in the loop. The idea that if you have an agent and it works autonomously and it can do a workflow end to end, and you've seen it do that successfully a number of times, then you can start trusting that it can do that job for itself and you don't need the human in the loop anymore. That's kind of what we see for 2026. And this, the third pillar, power to coordinate agents for real outcomes. And then also flexibility to control your agent models, because now new models come in, and it used to be OpenAI, now it's Anthropic, and then suddenly, the Google one is leading the pack, and then it's all over the place, and it's week by week. So you need to be able to flip the models more dynamically than we might have thought.
I need an agent that sends me an email every Monday morning. Today's most popular or the best model to use this week is this one.
And actually, because there's such a big difference between the models, because I see people trying to citate and tell so this work was enhanced by ChatGPT. I'm like, well, that doesn't really help us much because, or Qualcomm, like, yeah, but which model? That's what you need. If you want to cite anything or give a reference to anything, you need to reference the model, because that's kind of where that comes from. And also agents that can access across your systems. Tools. The skills. Sorry, not tools. Skills. is going to be incredibly important in 2026. And also the capability to scale agents without sacrificing control. The agent swarms, the independent working agent that does the end-to-end workflow without you in the loop, the one you trust. You have 10 of these and you have a management agent that kind of controls them all. That is scalable. But you vibe coding one-to-one with an agent on your code and checking every time it asks you a question, you have to say yes or no. That is not scalable. So scaling is also very, very important in 2026. And it's very interesting to see.
Yeah, just a lot.
So, yeah.
It's going so fast, all of this stuff. But yeah, it's good. I mean, it's I think we're all trying to struggle to keep up on some of this stuff too. And which this is something we've talked about probably every episode for the last year, is keeping up. But again, these are the types of articles, at least you can, awareness to me is always sort of the thing is always the first key to accomplishing anything. So yeah, hopefully this article is really good. It kind of eye-opening on a few things. Again, like agents that can run a workflow end to end without you checking in on it. To me, it's like, it does trigger me a little bit because we even think about Power Automate flows. How many times have we're fully trusting the Power Automate flow running on a schedule is working, only to discover sometimes that it's not. And what are the parameters and the things that the governance we built into that to indicate if something has failed. So we also need, like with the agents, if they fail or they're kind of going off. And this is why I see things like the what Microsoft announced at Ignite, the Agent 365 thing, to have these tools to, let them run and do their own thing, but keep an eye on things as well. We talk about governance and security, that they're not kind of going off and doing things incorrectly, or if they're running fine, that's cool too. That's good to know. Green light. So yeah, good. A very interesting article, very thought provoking. Thanks for putting it in the notes.
I think it has to do with trust as well, right? As much as you, because where I work a lot with juniors, right? We onboard new people into my team, and we start simple, and you give them simple tasks, and you check in often, and then they build your trust because they can solve the things, and actually they go above and beyond, and you think, oh, they're ready for a new challenge, right? Let me try this. And then and you check in, and then they come back, and it's iterative. And as we talked about, the models change often. And so if you have an agent that is autonomous and has ownership of one workflow end to end, and that is based on one model. As soon as you change the model, the data changes, security changes, test changes, the environment changes, anything changes. You have to check in with it to make sure that it's running correctly. And as you said, that's when governance is so important. That's when insight is so important. That's when error handling and testing and all these things come into play. And if anything, people are scared their jobs are going to be away. Agent manager. I'm just putting it out there as a new job title. Fucking agent manager. Someone's
Exactly.
going to have the job to look after these agents and to follow up and to check in and it's like managing juniors in a way until they build the trust that, yeah, I know how to do this job. We talked about the monkey work, right? Yep. I know I'm the monkey. I got the wrench. I know my task, and it's just plugging away at the thing. And you build confidence that it can do it, and it will also report back to you if it can't, if something goes wrong. It has to do with trust, and it's weird that we're building trust with these machines or models or algorithms, or call it what you want. But I think that is something that we as humans need to on board in a way. And I get your reluctance. It's very much like, well, do I trust it? And I think all of us have different thresholds with this, right? Because I'm so lazy. If it can do something for me, I'm like, yeah, go on. I forget to check. And it's like, well, if it's doing its thing, I'm happy. But yeah. So another thing that my colleague also touched on was skills, right? So we have a tech talk at my company at Itera every Friday after lunch, half an hour. And last Friday, Morten, his name is, talked about agent swarming and also the loop. There's a Simpsons character, autistic one, the little guy with the little weird one. They renamed the loop after him. I can't remember what his name is, but
Ralph?
it's the
Or
yes, yeah, I think that's it. What's his last name? I'm too young.
Ralph Wiggum? Or
yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. I'm probably said a million things that are very you're not supposed to say. It's not politically
correct. And then of course the Simpsons character Ralph Wiggum, like
yeah. No, but it's because it's. And you've heard me say this before, and you can't really say these things out loud, but I do because I'm me. It's an agent should be, in a way, a little bit autistic. It should know about and be good at everything. It should have his little special or its special focus and be very good at that. And what you do is you build guardrails around it with context, and then you give it specific skills. The prompting is less and less important. It's the skills and the context that creates the guardrails around it. And the way that the loop works is that now you give it the ability to write back into its own repository. So it will go off. You give it a task. It goes off. It does its thing. Then it goes, it surfaces, and then it checks its work. And then it goes, this isn't good enough. It edits its own guardrails and the context and the content, drops the chat or the session, starts a new one. And it does that and it iterates and iterates and iterates until it's happy with the outcome. Then it exits the loop. This is the autonomous version. And this is so I saw, and I'm going to put the link in here. I saw a video from Scott Hanselman in the car talking about this the other day, because you have this loop is making people think that agents suddenly have consciousness because they can edit their own context and they can learn from their previous loops and enhance. And so now people are, Jarvis is here, right?
Yeah.
And they can deduce, they can check, they have access to different tools, they can go off, and it's like, well, it now has the ability. So if you have an agent and it has this loop, you can ask it to say, because he uses the example, he's diabetic, so he has a sensor on his arm, and it's sending signals to the cloud, and he can check on a website his blood sugar levels. And now he can tell this agent, go off and read that value. And then she'll go back and say, it Googles how to connect to the API, what that is. So it asks, okay, what type is it? It's this service, right? It goes to checks the requirements. Okay, I need a web API endpoint and a key. So here you go. It creates the code and it runs the git command to connect to the API with his token and gives him back the result. It now has the capacity, because it can edit itself in the loop and add skills to itself to do that. That is what makes people freak out, because suddenly you go, oh, what can it not do? And you add voice to that. Maybe it also gives the example where you went, by any means necessary, give me a reservation at this restaurant. What will it do? And where will it stop? Will it access a text-to-speech service and then connect to Trello and dial the number at the restaurant and call on your behalf and edit your voice and make the reservation? Guardrails. Guardrails. The context, the guardrails. It's never been more important. And this is a very long way of saying, and I'm so happy I have this channel to talk about this because it's so important. In Microsoft has now this site which on GitHub called Microsoft-Skills, where they have a collection of skills, MCP servers, custom agents, agent MDs, the MD files for agents, SDK, ground coding agent. It's a library of resources that you can tap into where you can share context. You can share guardrails. What does your base prompt look like? What does your instructions look like? What does your context look like? And then we can learn from each other. We can pull in from one another, because you said it just a few minutes ago. Where do I start if I'm new to this? If I haven't tapped into it yet, how do you even begin? This is where you share, you learn from others, and you develop your own. And I think this is going to be the IP going forward, is how do you create efficient, smart, and appropriate guardrails that work?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to put the links to that in the show notes. And also that's a good segue over to Damien's new project, which is kind of in the same space.
Yeah. Yeah. Damien started a school. Now, school is a platform for doing, for building communities and stuff like that. Of course, Damien has an amazing YouTube channel. It's been going for quite a while. Like, if you've not seen his YouTube channel, check that out, because he puts on amazing videos around Power Platform and Flow, Power Automate, and everything like that. But now he's brought this into a community. It's currently free. I've signed up this morning. 208 members, but by the time we probably look at this in a few weeks, it's definitely going to increase. And it's a great way. What I like about this is it takes, it's a community for sharing and learning together. Like he said, he's learning himself, but he's a great guy to talk to. He's very knowledgeable. And then basically for the group, really, yes, there's the YouTube channel, but within the group, then it becomes a much more, we're learning together from real people, I guess you could say, as opposed to the wild west of the internet frontier on YouTube. So definitely check that out. It is a private group. You do need to sign up, but it is free. And it's about, the kind of learning agents and flows. He has 3 videos already. Of course, his videos are awesome. But yeah,
these are full day workshops as well, right? So that's kind of the video is as a walkthrough, and then he has his full tutorial on how to do it. That's kind of where the value is, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So and we see a few of these communities kind of popping up or whatever, and they're great. It's a great way to, I guess, establish some safe spaces for learning as well. As opposed to, just commenting on a YouTube channel or, asking a question there. If it's there, then the community can answer and you can collaborate on things. And it's what I like about the school platform. It's kind of structured in terms of threads and information and ability to upload files. Like, I know there's a lot of WhatsApp groups out there, but they're very linear. And if you miss a day, you're 500 messages behind, kind of thing. So, thanks, Damien, for creating that. And I'm very much looking forward to diving in and checking it out further.
Yeah, absolutely. I signed up in a few last week, I think. And also, in the start of the episode, I looked at it and it was 206. So it's now 208. It's growing very quickly. So I would recommend to get in while you can, while it's free. And also I'm thinking there's a lot of independent consultants now in Power Platform space, and I see more and more people going independent. And of course, this is a great way. So when I have my colleagues in the Tech Talk every Friday, if you're an independent, you don't have that network. This is a very good way of meeting peers and actually collaborating together and sharing links like this and other resources we pull together as a community. So really love that. And Damien, I can't wait to dive in to your stuff. And speaking about tutorials, by the way, next time I'm going to see you is in just a month and a week. No, I'm going to see you in Vancouver before that. But the next time we're doing some content together, is a full day tutorial on the Agent Academy Recruiter.
Yes.
At Color Cloud in Hamburg, and it's 15th to 16th of April. Make sure to sign up before it's full, because I expect this will fill up so quickly. And also, we have Canadian Power Platform Summit before that, which we're really excited to be part of. How do you feel? How's the cortisol levels? Are you okay?
Oh yeah, no, that's actually, well, it wasn't, but I know we there's a few little logistic things around the hotel that came up this morning. I need to sort out with our speakers and everything, but that's okay, easily managed. But yeah, our numbers are good. Like right now, we have some tickets left, but if you're planning to come to Vancouver, get on it, because we are heading towards a sellout. And then and then the other thing, if I can kindly ask, if you have the ticket but your plans change, please go in and cancel your ticket. So that gives someone else the opportunity to step in. We have workshops as well. There's 4 different workshops on Copilots, on ALM, on designing beautiful apps, certifications. So there's a lot of good educational content happening the day before. The Dynamics user group, shout out to them, are also running an event the day before. So if you're more of a Business Central, Dynamics CE type person, there's content there for you. And so it's going to be a great kickoff to MVP Summit, which we really can't talk too much about, except all MVPs will be converging on Redmond and seeing all the
Party
new things.
bus!
Okay, are you taking the party bus?
No.
No.
Sean asked me, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm gonna toot train on the way from Vancouver to Seattle.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Cool.
On the slowest train in the world.
So we have that. You mentioned Color Cloud as well. I'll be at Dynamics Minds, have a couple sessions there. I'm trying. So a side conversation. World Bench Press Championships are literally happening the same time and a little bit few days after. So I got to figure all that out.
After Dynamics Minds?
So the classic, the classic bench is actually happening the same time. It's the equip that's happening right after. So I got to we'll see. That's future Nick's problem. And then, your European Power Platform Conference, of course, is happening in Copenhagen, which, we'll talk more about next time for sure, because it's a lot of exciting news and stuff happening there. And then hopefully a little bit of a break for the summer. And then, of course, fall is going to kick off again with probably a bazillion events and things going on. So, fun times. And then our next episode will be February 25th in 2 weeks.
It absolutely will. And let me just say before we go that make sure I wanted to mention that the dates for EPPC has changed. So if you thought it was going to be in the beginning of June, it's now going to be at the end of June. So it's going to be June 29th until July 2nd. So and we're going to put all of this in the show notes, of course.
So I'm going to be celebrating Canada Day in Denmark. So
whoop, whoop. What better time to do it?
Yes. Yeah, well, Denmark's flag is red and white, so it will I'll fit right in. It's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fantastic to travel the world with you this spring as well. I can't wait.
Yes.
All right, everyone, take care, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. If you like this episode, please make sure you share it with your friends and colleagues in the community. And be sure to leave a rating or a review on your favorite streaming service. That makes it easier for others to find us. Follow us on social platforms and make sure you don't miss a single episode. Thank you for listening to the Power Platform Boost podcast with your host, Ulrikke and Nick Dolman. See you next time for your timely boost of Power Platform news and updates.